that during this quarantine, faith and talent brought them together to create a masterpiece of their unique work. So we have Roberta Alvarado. She's a professional photographer. Welcome, Roberta, to our first virtual cultural event. And we have Tomás Montoya. He's a local poet as well. So welcome, guys. We're very happy to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Good. We're so happy so you can share with us all your experience of this amazing project. I am Daniela Mosquera. I'm going to be your moderator. I'm a journalist, and right now I work for NBC Universal as a news producer. So let's start with Roberta. We want you guys to know a little bit more about herself. Roberta is a Sacramento-based artist and photographer, also known as a Freebird Arte. I'm saying it correct? She's been shooting since high school, and her work can be seen in art galleries and the award-winning Paramount picture, The Big Short. She prides herself as a minimalist photographer, which allows her to be flexible and intuitive. Her eye is of the beauty in simple surroundings and the movement in everyday life, with a primary focus on cultural through the Americas. So her most recent body of work delivers into the traditional, including burial rituals of the Mayans in the Yucatan region of Mexico. Her art explores the theme of the life and death and how we celebrate our loved ones after they passed. So, wow, that's amazing, Roberta. Also now here is Tomás with us. Tomás is the poet that he is joining us today with his amazing talent. Tomás, he is a lead teaching artist. He has a bachelor in science and digital film and video production, and exhibition experience in painting, drawing, and photography as well. Tomás has worked in his community with at-risk population of youth and the Language Academy of Sacramento as well, La Familia Counseling Center here in Sacramento, the Washington Neighborhood Center, and YOLO Arts Juveniles Justice Art Education Program. In addition to teaching, Tomás is also a filmmaker here in Sacramento. He is a visual artist, poet, filmmaker, community worker, born in the Bay Area in San Francisco and raised here in Sacramento. Since 1998, he has exhibited in a solo and group exhibitions in here, Sacramento, Bay Area, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and pretty much all California. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
amazing artists we have here with us today, sharing your amazing experience. So to start, warming up a little bit, of course, all the people that is watching us want to see a little bit of your work. And what do you think, guys, if we start seeing a little bit of your photography? And what we know about this project that you created together is that you, Roberta, took photographs, and then Tomás, years later that you took these photographs, he created poetry for your photographies, and then you create a complete masterpiece, putting together your photography and his poetry, right?
Yes.
So beautiful. Let's see a couple of one of the photographies that you took, and please, guys, let us know the result of this. Okay, what can we see here? This is beautiful.
So this is the Red Door, and this is from in Masaya, Nicaragua, and this was actually the first full day that I was in Nicaragua. And it's just a beautiful, I took several pictures right off the boat. I love Masaya. And so this was actually one of the very first pictures that I gave to Tomás that he wrote a poem to. And when I received that poem, I knew we were off to an amazing start. And I just knew I was going to be very happy with this collaboration and this whole exhibit.
Amazing. This is a beautiful photograph. Tomas, I want you to tell, let's, cut the ice here with one of your, of the poetry that you create for this picture, for this photograph, sorry. And then I want Roberta to tell us a little bit of your experience going to Nicaragua and taking all these pictures. So, but we want to give you guys a little bit of an abrebocas of what this amazing masterpiece is. So let's hear your poetry.
So this piece is called The Red Door. And like Roberta said, it was, I think, one of the first ones that I sent to her. My grandparents met just beyond your threshold at a spring dance where doves slept as they wooed. My parents entered your corridor to buy rice and beans and spices for my 10th birthday. My friends were awed by the feast. I pass you every day to meet my daughter after school. You are a part of our family, a heart of earth and wood, a house of memories. That's it.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. And can I see you guys again? That's an amazing photograph, and it just matches your inspiration super deep. Roberta and Tomas, now that I talked a lot about yourself and about what this work is for, I want you guys to tell me more how this was created, how this was born. Roberta, let's start with you. Tell me about your experience when this started, where did you took the pictures, and how was all this, adventure that took you to this amazing masterpiece?
Well, a really good friend of mine that I've known for about 20 years now, who is watching, Roxana, she is from Nicaragua, and she was getting married and her family is there. So she invited me to her wedding. And I like to make the most of any situation, and I was excited to go. So of course I turned it into a photo journey. So I ended this whole trip at her wedding, but the whole time, like 19 days prior, I backpacked. So I travel with just one backpack, and I knew that I really wanted to go to Masaya because of its rich history. And so this was my first stop, and this was the very first time that I did a photo journey. So it was pretty pivotal because it was new to me to backpack and go through a country like that. But I had a wonderful experience, and so I've done that a few times since, and that's the direction I've gone in. So Masaya is not a place that gets very many tourists. And so it's very much off the beaten path. And that's what I like so much, because then you get a real essence of the country, of the people and the history of the country. So we took a bus and stayed in hostels. And so we can just kind of travel to different places along the way. So this was our first stop, and I really fell in love with it.
And tell us how, when you talk about that you're a minimalist, intuitive photographer, what does that mean? So we can understand more, what do you do, or how do you feel in the time that you capture your photography, for example, in your trip?
Well, photography is really expensive. So I used to think that I was discouraged because I didn't have the ability to buy all the equipment. But I found that actually all of that has actually made me been an advantage, because I could just use enough equipment to just fit in my backpack. And then being that I just carry, I shoot with a Sony, which is very low light. And then I use a 24 to 240 lens usually as my main lens, and a little LED cube. So I just, a little clip, just key little items to help me along the way. But that gives me the freedom. It gives me the freedom to go on a chicken bus and decide to go, where do we want to go next? And being intuitive means I'm not trying to control the situation. I'm just kind of reacting and being guided by where I feel. And when you do that, it just gives you a freedom because you're not trying to control the situation. You're just kind of going with it, and it just makes it many times it becomes a spiritual journey as well.
Well, you guys, in a minute, we'll see more of this adventure backpacking to Nicaragua. What was the result of the amazing photographs? Tomas, let's go with you for a second. Tell us a little bit, how did you get into poetry? Because we just heard this amazing poetry that was very deep. We want to know more how you get into it.
I was really fortunate to grow up in a family of artists of all mediums, musicians, poets, playwrights, actors. And so growing up, any kind of art form was put up high. So any time that we were interested in anything creative, we were like encouraged to do that. So for my dad, who was a multidisciplinary artist, my brother's a playwright. I have cousins that are poets and writers and novelists. So I think I just grew up in that environment and I was attracted to it. And so we were encouraged to be creative in all mediums. So writing was one of the ones that I really took early on. My mom taught us Spanish before we got to school. So I got into school bilingual. So I already had kind of an understanding and an appreciation of language as a child. And then coupled with being in a creative household, it was just like the right environment for that to flourish.
So you say your father also used to write?
My father was a poet. He was a professor here in Sacramento, a musician and a painter as well. And I was telling a joke the other day because I used a word and one of my students asked, well, what does that word mean? And I was telling my student what the word meant. And I remembered my dad, he was very, very creative, but he got a minor in English. And so I was kind of spoiled because anytime I didn't know what a word meant, we didn't have to look it up in a dictionary. When I was a kid, I would run into his room and say, Papa, what does this word mean? And he'd tell me, and then I'm like, okay, cool. And I'd run back. And so it was like really, I didn't remember that until my student asked me what a word meant as I was speaking. And so it's just a love of language and a love of words. And I think it started early on with my dad and just having books in the house and paintings all around. It was just a very, very creative environment that I grew up in.
Wow. So pretty much you started writing since very early.
Yes, as a child.
Let's go and see another one of your photographies from Nicaragua. And we want to hear a little bit more of what does that photography that Roberta took got him inspired. Okay, let's talk about this one, Roberta.
So this one actually is also a Masaya, and I was going around and taking photos, and this kid, he wanted me to take his picture. So that was him saying, hey, like, take my picture. And then he goes over and I take a second picture that's also in the exhibit of him posing more for me. But that's what I mean about just having, when you have a camera and you're taking pictures, it just gives you this ability to be able to connect with people. And so this kid, I think about him. That's another thing is when you're traveling and you meet all these people, even if it was brief, you think about them. And so I often think about this kid because, you know, we did have a situation in Masaya where that's the movement of the revolution that happened in Masaya. And then we had some more political uprising that happened. And so I just wonder about this kid and how he's doing because he's at that age of becoming very active, being an activist.
Amazing. So after we just heard what Roberta captured in that moment, we want to see what Tomas felt when he saw this picture with the photograph, and what was the inspiration, Tomas?
So this poem is called the Caretakers, and it kind of came after a discussion that Roberta and I had over this image, and in talking about the political upheavals that happened in that whole region and that are continuing to happen. I was raised to celebrate our indigenousness, our Indianness, our aboriginal roots, and so this poem was a way to pay homage to this child who has a very indigenous face, is obviously wearing clothes from today, but I think what I wanted to capture was like a historical perspective of the struggle that is ongoing, and that the caretakers are the children now who are continuing this fight to remain human, in a sense. It's not to be lost to any negative forces that are around them, and that they are retaining their humanness and their innocence. So that's what this poem kind of attempted to capture.
Okay, let's hear that.
The Caretakers. Sandino Somoza Ortega, Niricano Choroteja Chontal, sons and daughters of the fourth and fifth son, adorned by luscious canopies, macaw, jaguar descendants, caretakers and protectors, visitors and astronomers. Your gentle eyes emit the warrior soul that upholds amidst man's blundering attempts to be whole again. That's it.
Beautiful, Tomas. That is just beautiful how you guys got to mix together, like match it, like create a just one product out of both explanations. It's amazing the inspiration that you guys created here. Tomas, tell us, how did this project come about together? In what time that happened?
The project came about, I think I was the one that was bugging Roberta. I think I messaged her, I think around the first week that we went into shelter in place, and I was kind of at home going a little stir crazy. And I said, well, maybe if I'm creative, I could not be so anxious. So I sent her a message and I said, hey, would you be interested in sharing some photographs with me and letting me create, I don't even think we said poems at the time. I think at the time I just said, can you share some images with me and let me write about them? And this body of work, I think, was the first thing that she brought up. And she sent me a folder full of these amazing photographs. And I think it was perfect. I think it was very removed from, I think, what we were going through here in the United States and quarantine. And it was like this whole other world that she had opened up for me. And I said, yes, please. So I think I wrote a poem on the first day that she sent me the folder, and I wrote it a little bit nervous because I took a lot of liberty with her image. I think it was a picture of a man on the boat. I think it was the man on the boat, and I just kind of created this story, and then I thought, I hope that's okay, because at that time we hadn't spoken about why she took the picture, what her inspiration was. And so I remember sending it feeling like, Tomas, you kind of took Roberta's image and put this whole other story on it. How is she going to react to that? And she was so gracious. It was really amazing. She said, this is great. I love it. And she did share with me after that kind of the background of why she took the image, where it was, things that I had no idea about. But I think after that time, she would share little notes with me, but not she would give me a lot of freedom, which I really, really appreciated, because I think that was a way for me to be creative, to contribute to what she had already captured in her amazing photographs.
Beautiful. Roberta, so tell us what happened when you received this first draft for Seth.
No, there was nothing to even critique. It was amazing. It was perfect, because the image that he's talking about, I was on a little island that is known for fishing. And so that's exactly what he's speaking about, of kind of coming in and what do you say? I'll borrow your, I'll let you say it. Say that line. Sorry, I put you on the spot.
It was trading. The poem talks about being a visitor in the sea, and that we were trading. I wasn't coming to steal or run off with anything. I wanted to trade, and I think in the poem I was saying, I would trade you my soul for your fish, so that it was an exchange. It was a barter that we were trying to do. So that was the story behind that.
Wow.
So he really got the essence of everything from the get-go. So there really was, that was what was so awesome about it. He captured it, and that was very important to me. If it didn't capture the soul, because I have a lot of friends in Nicaragua that I want to honor with this, so I wanted to do the country and them justice. That was very important to me, and yet it was great. I thought each day when I opened it up a new poem, I was just excited. I would go through and send him some at night, because I'm a night person and he's a morning person. So I would go through and I would, every time you go and you open up a picture as a photographer, you kind of like, oh, let me change this, let me edit this. And you're always kind of perfecting it. And so I would send him them at night. And then in the morning, he would wake up with I would send, a few in a folder at a time. And he would write a poem, and then I would be sleeping in because I was up all night, and my phone would go ding. I grabbed my phone, it was like, what? And I would read a new poem. So that was a much better place to be at, rather than before when I was waking up and turning on the news.
So guys, we know that being in quarantine, living through a pandemic, we never thought in 100 years we were gonna, live this, actually experience the situation. And every single person in their house being, for hours and days and weeks in the house, depending on their profession as well, or their spirit or their soul, or where they dedicated their lives to, impact the way your soul and your life go through this quarantine, right? Your mind. Of course, you guys as artists, your mind, your inspiration, your feelings, your sensations are a little bit more sensitive towards everything that happens in a daily basis. So Tomas, tell us a little bit about the process of writing for this project during this quarantine, because we know this is a project, a baby that was born from talent to amazing artist and quarantine. Tell us, Tomas, about the process of writing this project.
I think for me, and I don't know if I communicated it to Roberta, but it was really it was saving me in a sense, because I was caught in that kind of middle space of being really overwhelmed by everything that was happening. I have 4 kids. We were all here at home. My job was affected, and it was a balance of kind of being bombarded by all these things, all this new information and all these new rules that we were facing, and at the same time having to maintain a hopeful attitude and a hopeful outlook, if not for me, at very least for my kids, so that I would not take them down into kind of where my mind was. So the poems, I think they were affected by that, because even when I was writing the poetry, I feel like a lot of the poems, if not all the poems, have a balance of heavy-hearted sadness, but I think that little glimmer of hope weighs the same, if that makes sense. I try to make a balance of things are difficult, things are very hard. It looks like, sometimes it looks like we can't get through and we won't get through, but there are things that I think we need to pay attention to in our lives to not lose hope and to maintain hope, regardless of how small that may be. And so I think a lot of those feelings I was able to put into my poetry and capture my goal was to capture that in the images that Roberta put there. So it was very much affected by my feelings during quarantine, and it was a good pairing, I believe, because of the conversation that Roberta and I had about Nicaragua and the history that it has. That's been a reality for a lot of people, not just in Nicaragua, in other countries in Central South America, and even some parts of the United States. That's their reality. What we're facing now in quarantine and rules and regulations and where you can go and where you can't go and when and how, people around the world have been facing that. That's been their normal. So I wanted to capture a little bit of that in the writing as well.
Wow. And you, Roberta, tell me your experience in quarantine with this project, because you took the pictures long time ago, but you know, creating a body, you know, like a soul to the face that we are seeing in the photograph. At the time that you read the poetry with the photo that you captured, you think you gave them another meaning, or you could see another meaning deeper now that you are living the situation right now through each of your photography?
Definitely. So right at the beginning in March, Johnny from Casa de Español asked me if I would do an exhibit for Sacramento Photography Month. And this was early on, but I'm a healthcare worker when I'm not an artist and photographer. So we already were starting to see things happen. And so I was in a really bad place, but I was still trying to remain strong. Like I was still trying to, I didn't know, we didn't quite know what was going on, but I just knew things were just not right at work, and it was just getting scarier and scarier. So I was in a really bad place and kind of ahead of everybody else, because I had already been exposed, and I had had a 14-day quarantine, but we couldn't get tested. My coworkers, some of them had been sick. You know, we started having to wear our masks, and all the PPE shortage. So I was not in a good place at all. So this gave me a distraction. And if I had needed to create a whole new body of work, or even sift through what I had, other than I already had this exhibit that I had wanted to, that I was working with, planning on showing physically. And I even told Johnny, I might hang the pictures, but I probably won't be there because I'm exposed. I wouldn't be safe to be around. So then I just thought, it's over. We're not doing it, you know? And then when he approached me, it was like, wow, we could do this. Let's do this and online. We still were not quarantined. We still had businesses open, but I didn't want to be going in and out of businesses because I didn't want to be going in and out around other people. So my energy being up at night, and I was quarantined now, so I was sort of just like taking my temperature every day. And so I was able to put my energy into editing and creating what was already there. So it gave me something to focus on, but not overwhelming too much.
Beautiful. That's a strong, deep story and experience that you guys are sharing with us through this difficult time as well. But at the end, you actually brought out an amazing result or work or product out of a tough and difficult situation for everybody. You brought out the best of you to create light during a very dark time. So we can have a full catch up for the people that probably came in later, that we explained this a little bit. Roberta, that is a photographer, Faith and Destiny put her together with Tomas. He writes poetry as well. And through a long journey that she had in Nicaragua, amazing backpack travel that she had taking photographs there a few years ago was the inspiration for Tomas to literally write the soul of that photograph through poetry. So he wrote a poem for each photography that she took in Nicaragua a few years ago. And all this happened during quarantine now that we're living the pandemic. So, guys, I think we're ready to see your final product. People will be ready to be able to see everything that we just spoke here. Tomas, do you have it there that you can share with us
Sarah, what? I'm sorry.
to share the final product of the
I think
photography?
Johnny was going to show it.
Johnny, do you have it there ready? Okay, we're ready. I'm gonna mute myself during this. Okay.
Who sits with their back to the sea? Who left home with a half-formed dream stuffed deep in their pocket? Who loved the sound of gravel under their feet? Who ran towards the nothing because it was better than the something you left behind? My shield shines before the sun. My steel stretches towards the horizons. I am alone on this mountain, covered in yesterday's blood and mud. Petrified tears now live on my skin. The battles, how many battles? They have forced me to reconsider God. There are no roads on this side of the mountain. Still I walk, still I pray, still I love. How long have we lived without the silence? For how long have we ignored the murmur of the groundhog's heart? How have we lived without the hushed magnificence of the butterfly's cocoon bloom? How can we continue without the quietude of tide and moon? Hand upon hand, the smile of the horizon, the heaven-bound stretch of the blades of grass. Helmiro misses church often, not because he is lazy or because he hates church. When he does attend, he never has much to put into the collection plate, not because he's stingy or greedy, or even because he is poor. Helmiro runs errands for the meek, and on Sundays, the streets are not crowded, and there are no lines at the stores, and so Helmiro can serve in full view of his Lord. Soft curve of the avenue, what coming and goings have you witnessed? Hoof and foot, tire and wheel, from here to there, you adorn and assist our journeys. Medicine for Grandma's eyes, an onion for Papa's stew, a bill to pay, to keep the lights on, and my brother and his books. Sandino, Somoza, Ortega, Niricano, Choroteja, Chontal, sons and daughters of the fourth and fifth son, adorned by luscious canopies, macaw, jaguar descendants, caretakers and protectors, visitors and astronomers, Your gentle eyes emit the warrior soul that upholds amidst man's blundering attempts to be whole again. My grandparents met just beyond your threshold at a spring dance where doves slept as they wooed. My parents entered your corridor to buy rice, beans, and spices for my 10th birthday. My friends were awed by the feast. I pass you every day to meet my daughter after school. You are a part of our family. A heart of earth and wood, a house of memories. The faint symphony of body and color, mirage of corn husk yellow and lip blood red. Confluence of cymbal and drum squeeze the air, made thin again by the smile of onlookers, grandmothers and nephews, sisters and tired fathers, come to witness the majesty of color and body, sound and skin, silk melody, drum heartbeat align. Your blood orange bellow lives within me, a microcosm of your searing core. You never notice me in your tantrums, or are they gurgles, or just reminders of your omniscient sleep beneath the sea? Some may curse your havoc, your dark magic of freezing time in soot and stone, but I do not. I remain a faithful disciple, a walking flame, your perpetual ember. You are concave and convex, chilled steel and warm tone. You are echo and chant, alarm of the summoned. You invite the pacifist and the soldier alike. You are the finger of God, time, pushing down gently on our hearts. For millennia, the dominion of our souls have been quarreled over by stone and sky, the temporal and the infinite. The soul, made of star shards, blushes and sheds a tear at the senseless bloodshed and banter of it all. The men in suits have forgotten why we carved into stone. They have forgotten that 1,000 rains could flow through the rips of rock, pour endlessly down the calligraphic crevices. They have their paper and their ink, and we borrow their tools from time to time, but only to remind them that their laws can dissipate with even a slight drizzle. From the gutters and alleys, from between the slits of so many razor cuts, the morning yawn of the newborn, and the last sigh of the broken addict, we are there, watching, listening, retelling in fragmented histories about the eternal union of the godless world and divine faith of the perfectly flawed. It is all just a tiptoe along the umbilical road, a sadness and joy wrapped so tight we use it to drape our eyes from the sun. The tear, shallow pool of salt, holds in its minuscule embrace the memory of your laugh and the cacophony of your rage for life. I enter your expanse to be seen and not looked at, a communion of mist and salt, a barrier of nebulous air. I enter your kingdom a visitor and a friend, a welcome thief, no, a penitent traveler, come to barter your fish for my soul. A cloudy day is not yet sad. A quiet day is not yet lonely. For Diego there is still wonder in it all. The lullaby of the sea devouring itself. The sun's golden shrieks behind the clouds. The melancholic timber of hammock needing nail. Sway east, sway west. East and west. East. West. Imagine for an instant that what you held dear was also dear to the merchant, a red pebble you found on an afternoon walk, a piece of green glass shaped like a heart. Imagine trading the shoelace from your father's boot for 30 years of peace to equal the 30 years father spent digging for other men's treasures. Maybe it was the porch that looked out onto our gentle forest. Maybe it was the tiles that nearly kissed at every corner. Or maybe it was the pillars that held up heaven.
Wow, guys, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing this amazing work, piece of art with us. I think everybody right now needs something like this that is like a shot of life, of reality, of emotions, something that we need to feel every day to remind ourselves that we are still alive, and to, move inside of us all these emotions and feelings. You took us to this beautiful trip of different scenarios, colors, emotions, happiness, nostalgia. But it's a good nostalgia, it's that nostalgia that you want to feel, like a good feeling sensation that is a positive vibe that you can feel in your body, because nostalgia is also good to feel. We got to meet so many people, so many stories through the eyes of, the women, the color, the walls, the doors, the cars, the streets, every single corner that you captured there, Roberta. That was beautiful. And Tomas, totally breathless. I have no words to express more of what I can say towards what we just saw here. So tell us, guys, so I think we are almost over, but I want to know, what do you hope, Tomas, people will get from this project?
I think you kind of mentioned it, just that we are alive, and not to forget that. And part of being alive is reflecting and creating. And I think doing that, especially at times like this, is where we almost don't have a choice, because we're in our homes, and the idea of being creative is so important on a regular basis because we're so busy. But now it's important because we have some time to reflect. So I hope people are moved by it and in different ways, visually and from the words as well.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Tomas, for that, for sharing all that beautiful words from you and your feelings and open your heart through this amazing project. Roberta, and what do you hope people take from your exhibits? Like when you, since the moment that you took those photographs until the moment that you put it together with Tomas, what was all this, path, the road that you follow for every time that you see that you said, this is what I want everybody to get with these exhibits that I'm capturing?
I think that what's important to me that I want people to be inspired to be curious. I want them to be willing to go explore the rest of this continent, do their homework, do their research, but don't not go, because Nicaragua is such a beautiful country and there's so much a wealth of history, and we're supposed to be scared to travel, and don't be. Do your homework and then go and experience it, because I want people to be curious enough to want to learn more about the American culture. But what I mean about America is the continent, because this continent has thousands of years old history, yet the US is only less than 250 years old. So get out there and just explore this world and start with this continent, and then learn about our we're so interconnected. So learn about our continent, our people, and then, if you're not indigenous to America, go and go learn about your own ancestry and your own culture as well. So just embrace it and learn, because there's so much knowledge and history and such a wealth that we're limiting ourselves to. So I just always, in my work, I always want to inspire people to be curious, because that's why I'm doing this. I'm not a teacher. I don't know the answers. I hesitate when I talk too much to know history, because I'm learning. I'm a photographer. So I'm curious, and what you're seeing is my observation.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Tomas, what's next for you? What's your next project? What do you think you are going to do the rest of the quarantine? Or you have planned something after? Or what do you have in your plans?
I don't want to jinx it, Roberta, but we had talked about actually flipping the concept, where I would write and she would then take what I wrote. I hope I'm not jinxing it, but
no.
Talked about that possibility, because the idea of collaboration is so difficult. You're talking about the sensitivity of the artist. There's also the ego of the artist. And so being able to give off your baby to somebody else to then take it and dress it up and then give it back to you, you're looking at it and like, oh, that's cute. Or, you want to appreciate it in a good way. So this was such a good collaboration that we had talked about. So what if we go backwards now? Let me write some pieces, and then I give them to Roberta, and then she'll do what she will with it through her lens.
Well, don't hesitate to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't wait to see what will be the result of that amazing project. We are more than 100% sure it's going to be same as amazing than how it is, or probably even more. Roberta, what's next for you? Do you have, plus this plan that you already have that it looks like is a lot? Do you have something additional?
I'm excited about doing that as well. That makes me nervous, and that's good. So I'm embrace that. Let's do that. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm also excited about, because when I do the travels, I meet so many people, and since I'm saying that I just kind of go to where my heart guides me, means that I would like to now go back and concentrate on some of those other stories. So Tomas and I were also originally, before all of this happened, we were talking about going to Mexico City and doing a documentary on someone that I met with that has a whole crazy history of how our lives came together. And so we were going to go do a documentary on her. Her name is Malek. And we were supposed to go in July, but that didn't work. But I actually think that that's okay because it was a little too soon anyways to try to rush it. So that's okay. We'll, you know, I have a lot to learn before we go. So yes, I'm looking forward to doing the documentary with Malek in Mexico City. She's a young Mayan woman that has just started a nonprofit to keep the Mayan traditions alive and teach people how to stay in touch, but then also connecting the indigenous cultures with the indigenous cultures from the most northern tip to the most southern tip. And connecting all those cultures. So, and then she also teaches how to heal through nature. So I want to go, and it would be like a more discovery.
No, that sounds a great experience and project as well. It should be an amazing result that we, of course, can't wait to see it. So hopefully you guys get to do all these projects that you have in mind. We know it will be great mixing the reality, the projects, the people with your talent and your imagination and your heart. It has to be a great, of course, result of it. So guys, we already gave our audience a bite of what you guys do. But if they want to see more of your work, see more of your poetry, of your photographs, please, Roberta, where can they see all of everything that you have done?
So I'd like to mention that these pictures that were shown through this exhibit are, I was able to work with a printer that I work with, Austin, that is just really beautiful, does beautiful work. So we have the image with Tomas's poetry on the side. So I have that all available to purchase together, beautifully together, and also in box like cards also. So that is at, well, I should put the link on there, but it's roberta-alvarado-photography.myshopify.com.
I think it's in the Casa Español webpage, all the links and information, as well with the video that we just saw. The people that want to just see it again, you can watch it there. I believe so.
Yes, and then there's a link to my website there as well. And then Instagram is a good way to keep most up to date with what I'm doing, and that's at Roberta Alvarado Photography.
Perfect.
So that has my current stuff.
Tomas, with you, where can we follow you to see everything that you write?
Instagram at tmontoya916.
T Montoya 916. We know 916 for Sacramento. That's not going to be, nobody's going to forget that. And T Montoya, Tomas Montoya. So that's very easy as well. Still, if you forget that, in casaespanol.org, you can find all the information of this amazing artist here. So guys, thank you for this amazing evening. That was delightful. We have so much fun. We enjoyed ourselves a lot listening to this amazing poetry and photographs. It was beautiful. Thank you for sharing your experience, your talent with us. I'm sure everybody is just more than filled and full with love, life, and emotions right now after this beautiful, time of experience of this cultural celebration. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget that we have many other virtual cultural events during the next few weeks. They're going to be putting it in Casa Español webpage, Instagram, so follow them day by day so you will know what is next. I will be joining you guys as well in many others. We're going to be promoting Argentina, Peru, Colombia, where I am from. So stay there so you can enjoy all these beautiful and traditions from our countries. So I think with this, we get to an end of
Can I say thank you, Casa de Español? Thank
Yes,
you very much. And thank you, Daniela. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Sure.
And
Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your presentation and your talent. Please keep doing it. Okay. Have a good night, guys. Thank you, everybody,
Thank you.
for watching. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.